there has been a lot of buzz about the 2027 Chevrolet Bolt. And that's because it's kind of a weird mystery car. Let me explain. Now, first of all, they brought the Bolt back due to popular demand. This wasn't going to happen initially, but things have changed. Chevrolet's like, okay, let's give everybody what they want. An inexpensive, entry-level, least expensive actually, electric vehicle that you can buy in the United States. And on top of that, let's give them all the Chevy goodies we can, including some of their higher end components, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, and here's the kicker, let's just do it for a limited time. This vehicle may only be around for about a year or two, maybe. It's kind of strange that they would go and do this, but I have a feeling that they're trying to fill a gap. So we should be getting something to replace this in the future, but that's not 100% because General Motors, frankly, a lot of things are going on. So let's talk about the car, because there's a lot to talk about. Biggest news comes right over here where I'm standing, and that's this. You see, it is no longer your average everyday charger. No, that is an NACS, my friends. In other words, a Tesla charging port. That is something that is brand spanking new. And not only that, but this is the first Chevrolet to have this, which is huge because there are many places you can go, Tesla stations, so you can plug in. So you could start using the Tesla superchargers. That network, which is nationwide, is more prevalent, more centrally located in many cases than just about any other type of charging station you could possibly think of. So that's great. You know what else is great? Instead of it being a 50 kilowatt charging setup, it's now 150 kilowatt. If you can actually find one that actually charges at that rate, which is a whole nother story because chargers, they can be slow. But this vehicle, 150, let's see if I can close this properly. There we go. So that's 3 times what it used to be. It used to be 50 kilowatts, and it wasn't even that. It was actually like 49, seriously, on a good day. So if you're trying to go cross country or even do a decent sized road trip, you should be able to charge a lot quicker. Now charging, and I'm going to take off my glasses in a very dramatic way because this is huge. They want you to charge up to 100% every time. This comes directly from Chevrolet, I kid you not. So you know how we've been telling you, no, 80% or else everything goes kaboom or whatever. Nope. Chevrolet says, and we just talked to them, charge this car all the way up to 100% every single time. And that's partially due to the fact that it has this new battery chem and this all new powertrain. So what's the big deal about this powertrain? Well, it comes from the Chevy Equinox. They retuned it a little bit, but essentially it's a very similar drive unit that is in here powering the front wheels. And by the way, these are 17-inch wheels that are looking kind of groovy. Why? Because this is the RS trim. Now, before we go any further, the big changes on this vehicle, other than the powertrain, it has a 65 kilowatt hour battery. That is usable. Once again, that is according to General Motors, and the birds agree with me. Don't you? Who's a big bad bird? That is what I call the Roman peacock. Say hi, Roman. Same hairdo too, right? So, so this vehicle actually has the same steel platform as before, so very similar to the previous Chevy Bolt EUV. For those of you who do not remember, the EUV was their kind of, how do I put it? It was an SUV-ish type version of the Bolt. So the Bolt was smaller, the EUV was a little bit bigger, higher roof. And that's basically what this is. They're really close in terms of measurement, so very similar to the EUV. That's a good thing. That means there's good headroom and decent legroom for such a small vehicle. That also means, okay, trunk space. In fact, I'm gonna pop open the trunk right here. I'm gonna spin around here. The last thing you guys wanna see is my backside. There we go. What a crime. It doesn't have electric struts lifting it up. It's no big deal. So you have this, which folds down relatively flat. Now, we have some stuff in the way there, guys, but let me show you what's down here. And ta-da! There's a lot of extra cargo space underneath as well. And because there's a battery deep down in there, that's as far down as you're going to go. And yeah, I don't really see how you could put a spare tire in here. Let me just double check. I've gotten this wrong before. No spare tire. But for electric vehicles, that's kind of common. Very few of them actually have that. So let's take a look inside the vehicle because there have been some big changes in there as well. Pretty much all new inside. I'm going to hit the brake. I have the key fob in my pocket, meaning all this will start up. Now this annoying little thing will go away in just a second. I'm referring to the beeping, not the bird. Okay, so a couple things right off the bat. You have, this is standard, an 11-inch screen here, multi-configurable for your instrumentation. And then your infotainment is 11.3 inches. Now I know, it looks like it's even bigger, but this little black part here, in here, no, that just kind of makes it look even bigger. But that's part of the design. Kudos to General Motors for having this. Actual buttons, thank you. This is for your heating, air conditioning, seat cool, and heat. Now bear in mind, I believe that some of these components aren't actually available on all of the vehicles because this is the RS model, meaning you get the nicer wheels, you get a bunch of other stuff included in it. In addition, you can get things like that. Yep, that sunroof is actually an option and not a cheap one. We will talk about pricing a little bit later, but just so you know, yes, the prices are very competitive. However, once you start loading them up, it's no longer as inexpensive as you might think. So let's talk about some of the components here because they're all very hard plastic. Now, producer Zach and I were having a conversation about it, and I told him a lot of these feel like they're 3D printed, like they came right out of a 3D printer. And it's entirely possible. As a matter of fact, I recall that when we were at Universal Studios looking at this vehicle, and that was a pre-production version, they did show some components that were 3D printed. So that in itself is something to keep in mind. However, stuff like this feels high quality, like the steering wheel. That's actually pretty nice, and they do have this raised stitching here, and it's very grippy, really well laid out. Simple shifting mechanism that General Motors uses on almost everything that's electric. Intuitive, simple, a breeze. And then of course your turn signal stock over here. On my far left, it has the heating for the steering right down here, and lane control assist, parking. I think you can the parking brake using this, and of course your dimmer. So look, something here, it's not really a big deal. Most of your stuff is over here. And you have the phone charger. This, I believe, is standard. And then you have this, it's not standard, but you have this section here, which is good for cargo and stuff. And then you have this here, which is useless for cargo. I swear to God, look how small it is. Look, my fingers aren't that big, and it just, there's no space. So you can't put a phone in here. Okay, you could put a credit card in there. It's for holding credit cards. That's whatever. So then you got this storage here, which is once again really good, although this type of plastic is pretty damn hard. Same down here. So there's extra space, and I think, yep, we do have a decent sized glove box. It's not too bad. So all of that hard plastics throughout, and that's including on the door panel. However, right here where your elbow would go, that is a soft rubber material. So that does feel pretty good. Standard controls throughout. Everything is pretty much where it belongs. Now here's the cool part. I've driven several electric cars that compete with this just in the past few days. That's including the Volvo EX30 and the Nissan Leaf. And this layout is the easiest by far to use. And that's including this. Look at this cool little cup holder. Look how you could do. You could take these out, and you have these slots over here, and then you can just kind of like, you know, if you've got a big gulp, you put that in there, or if you're drinking tea like Roman, you put a little tiny cup right there, European style right there. Yeah, so you have that, and then you have the storage down here, and another cup holder, which is adjustable right over here. So there is some good storage in the car, especially up front, and you have this multi-configurable cup holder, but there's more. Okay, so you know how many cars now have these multiple camera views? By the way, there's a peacock cruising around. I think you could just see him up there, and you're able to configure the views, round views and whatnot, which is great. And this car has the cameras all the way around. That's awesome. But this is something that General Motors did that not many others are doing. These cameras can run full time and record working like a regular dash cam. And if you look down here, follow my fingers to this, see this hard drive right here? Well, if you want a hard drive, I know you guys call it different things like, you know, what is it, a plug-in thumb drive, other things. Okay, anyway, this, you plug it in, you have room, and as it records, it'll just like a dash cam, it'll automatically record, and then your oldest video, provided that you don't need it, it'll get rid of it. Meaning that you have an immediate full 360 dash cam working full time. The one thing it won't do that some of the other ones will do is record interior stuff, which I think is kind of a good thing. Well, at least for me. All right, let's have a look in the back. Now, there's a couple of things that are positive, and there's one thing that's a little bit negative. So first, the positives. One is I am sitting behind myself, the bird agrees, and I have gobs of leg room for myself. Not only that, but my feet, which are size 13s, fit partially under here. So you can see I got a little bit of toe space, right? But I mean, unless you're wearing like a 15, I think you're gonna be okay there. But look at all this extra leg room I have. I am 6'1". Yes, I slouch. But anyway, I have the seat set to my own position and I have this room. Now the roof is a little bit scalloped. So that means that my head is not quite hitting up here. I have probably about a ½ inch, maybe a little bit more. Now if I lean my head over this way, I hit. If I pull back, yeah, I'm hitting a little bit, but it's not too bad for a full-size adult, which is surprising. 3 adults across, probably not. Reason why, it's a very narrow car. It's a small car. Now, remember I was telling you about positives and negatives? Aside from that, you get 2 USB-Cs down here. That's cool. What you don't get is a vent back here. It's kind of a bummer, but it is a small car, so I would imagine that you can kind of compensate for its size by having those vents kind of blow up and over. Now, you have this right here, which 2 cup holders. Probably the best use of this center section, because otherwise I think it would be a little bit tight. But there is good news. There's no transmission tunnel, hence, if you do have somebody in the middle, they'll actually be able to put their feet here. One final thing, 2 final things, 2. 1, there's no packets behind here, and there's no net or anything. Do better. Put something back here so we can store stuff. That would really help. But you do have that really good door pocket setup, which is great for a bottle or a can and other stuff. So once again, it's kind of positives and negatives, but really more positives than negatives. Prices start at $28,995 for the LT. This one starts at $32,995, and this is the RS. Now, bear in mind, the whole deal is options. That's where the prices start to really jack up. So you want Super Cruise, you want the sunroof, you want the charging, which is part of another package. These packages can bring the price into the $40,000 zone, which suddenly makes this not the most affordable electric vehicle in the United States. But once again, it's competitive with Nissan and with Volvo, and to a lesser extent even Hyundai. So they're all in that same price gap. But Chevrolet, to their credit, if you get the LT and don't put a bunch of stuff on there, it will be the least expensive electric vehicle in the United States. Thanks for joining us. I will see you next time.